Hey folks, this is Kalani. Welcome back to the Sanctum of Domination raid guide for normal and heroic. This time we'll be taking down Kel'thuzad. The boss's first ability is Soul Fracture, who will deal a lot of damage to your tank, knock them back, and split their soul into shards. These shards are actually mobs that spawn around the edges of the room. For each shard that is alive, your tank will take 500% increased physical damage, and if your tank doesn't collect their soul shards within 1 minute, they instantly die. These shards need to be DPS down and picked up by your tank to remove the debuff. The soul shards will also try to cast Piercing Wail, which deals heavy raid-wide damage, so you need to interrupt this as often as possible. The boss's next ability can actually help you with that. Oblivions Echo debuffs random players with an AoE circle that silences any players or soul shards within 10 yards. After 6 seconds, these players also drop a silencing AoE on the floor, so these players should move over to a soul shard to drop that silence AoE on them to prevent them from casting anything at all. These AoE circles also spawn a Frostbound Devoted Add, which will focus on a random player and slowly move towards them. If they reach their target, they explode, dealing a lot of damage to anyone within 5 yards. You need to kite them, stun them, and DPS them down. The boss will also periodically cast Dark Evocation. This revives the Frostbound Devoted Adds, so you just need to kill them again, and the boss will also revive any dead players and mind control them. This means it's super important to stay alive in this fight, because if you die, you're going to get rezzed and mind controlled over and over again throughout the fight, and your raid will have to kill you each and every time. Another important ability is Glacial Wrath. The boss summons several glacial spikes near random player locations. These spikes deal a lot of damage where they initially impact, so don't stand in the swirls, and then they start losing 5% of their health every 2 seconds. When these spikes die, they explode for raid-wide AoE damage and damage over time. You ideally don't want to stack the damage over time effect, so nuke down one spike at a time and let the last one expire on its own. The boss also uses Frost Blast. This targets a random player, and after a short delay it deals a massive amount of damage split between everyone who gets hit. So this is yet another ability to stack up for. Everyone who gets hit will take additional damage over time, and they'll be rooted in place for 12 seconds. So you don't want everyone to stack up, just enough people to make the damage manageable, which will be probably about half of your raid. This is a great time for healing cooldowns as well as mass dispels, and any root breaks like Druid Shapeshift or Hunter Disengage. And then the boss's last ability in this phase is Howling Blizzard. When the boss gets to 0 mana, ice patches will spawn around the room. These patches deal a lot of damage to anyone standing in them, and they expand and grow in size over 20 seconds, and then they explode, dealing massive damage within 8 yards. There's always an area of the room with fewer patches and a safe spot, so head for that ASAP before the patches explode. When you get the boss's health down to 0, phase 2 will start. There are 2 main parts to this phase: the boss room, where you are now, and then inside Kel'thuzad's phylactery. In the boss room, 2 types of adds will spawn. The unstoppable abominations will need to be picked up by your tanks and faced away from the raid due to their demolish ability. This deals a lot of damage in a straight line, so as long as it's faced away from the raid, only the tank should get hit. The other add is the Soul Reaver. They move around kind of slow and constantly try to cast Banshee's Cry. If this cast gets off, it will deal a lot of random raid damage, but it also increases the damage of future Banshee's Cry casts, so interrupt it as much as you can. The boss will also start casting Vengeful Destruction, which deals lethal damage to your entire raid. The only way to stop this cast is to enter his phylactery and damage his soul directly. To enter the phylactery, you just need to run over to the boss and press the extra action button that appears, and down here you can find the remnant of Kel'thuzad on a small platform. His Shadow Fissure ability spawns swirls around the platform. They deal a lot of damage and knock you back if you get hit, so just don't get hit. He will also face random directions and fire off Freezing Blast. This deals a lot of damage and roots anyone who gets hit, so you need to avoid this as well. Anyone downstairs in the phylactery will also take increasing damage over time from Sinister Miasma. This stacks the longer you're in the phylactery, so you can't stay down here forever. When the remnant is below 33% health, tornadoes will also spawn on this platform, dealing damage and rooting anyone who gets hit, so just another thing to avoid. You can only take off 33% of this add's health before he becomes immune and starts casting Undying Wrath. This will one-shot anyone still in the phylactery realm, so you need to leave before this cast finishes. When the Remnant Add casts Undying Wrath, he actually interrupts Kel'Thuzad's one-shot cast upstairs, and the phase will end. When the phase ends, a few things are going to happen. First, any adds that are left alive will become empowered, dealing 25% more damage and becoming immune to all crowd control, so all of the adds need to die before the phase transitions ideally. Secondly, the boss gains a stack of Necrotic Surge. This increases his damage dealt by 5%, and each stack also increases the number of players targeted by Oblivions Echo and Glacial Wrath, so in future phases you'll have more and more silencing circles and more glacial spikes to deal with. The boss will also go back to full health and you go back into phase 1, so all of the abilities that we talked about earlier with the extra casts now in play. To kill the boss, you have to kill the remnant of Kel'Thuzad inside the phylactery, but you can only take 33% of his health at a time, which means you're going to have to do this phase 1 3 times total to be able to kill that add. You have two options really for dealing with phase 2 in the phylactery. You can split your raid, so a few DPS and a healer go downstairs while everyone else stays upstairs to kill the adds, or you can just zerg the entire thing. Everyone stays upstairs, kills the adds ASAP, then everyone but one tank goes downstairs to burn the remnant add. If you can't kill the remnant add fast enough, I would suggest you send down 1 or 2 very strong single target DPS, and that should do the trick. When the remnant of Kel'Thuzad dies, you can finally enter phase 3. During this phase, you don't have to worry about many of the phase 1 abilities anymore. The boss only uses Frost Blast, so no more soul fractures, no more glacial spikes or silent circles. The boss will get the Sinister Miasma ability from phase 2, which deals increasing damage over time to your entire raid, so this is a race against the clock. He also starts using Deep Freeze. The same kind of frost patches as phase 1 appear around the room slowly, but they don't explode and they don't disappear, so you'll start running out of room as well. On top of that, the boss also summons the adds from phase 2, the Unstoppable Abominations and Soul Reavers, and he summons more Frostbound Devoted Adds, so focus them down as quickly as you can. When the boss summons adds, he also revives any dead players and mind controls them, so you really need to stay alive in this fight and burn the boss down. You should also probably save Lust for this last phase. And that's all you should need to take down Kel'Thuzad on normal and heroic. Stay tuned for more boss guides for the rest of the Sanctum of Domination raid. Thanks for watching, folks. Good luck and have fun, and as always, I will see you next time.